Some of you might know that last year we had the honor to host Eric Yuan, founder and CEO of Zoom, to speak at BSEF 2018. This year, we're glad to have Eugene Zhang, the angel investor who invested in Zoom. Eugene is a Tsinghua alumnus and the founding partner of TSVC. Please join me in welcoming Eugene Zhang.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I saw many young people, so maybe my talk could potentially bring a little bit of story and value to everyone. The slide says 9 years grown with investing startups. Actually, it's 9 years as an angel investor. It's very special in the Valley as an investor, so I'm glad to share that experience with everyone. You know, like many of you, I was a student and also an engineer, and 9 years ago, jumped into investing. That's 9 years ago. Before I do that, maybe the first is to roll back and talk a little bit about the history, the snapshot of Silicon Valley from my personal perspective. It's my personal kind of snapshot. Personal experience, kind of an angle. So to me, it's the three down cycles, and during the last 29 years. Many of you may not see, if you've been here in the Silicon Valley for less than 9 years or 10 years, you see nothing but the going up. When I graduated in 1991, January 1991, from New York State, so that was the recession time. So I didn't know why. What is the recession? I have no clue. It just, everybody says it's very hard to find a job, okay? So it turned out, later on, I realized, it's the end of the Cold War. So that's why GE, a lot of defense companies, the company in San Diego, all that, they are all cutting jobs. Nobody's hiring. So I got my master's degree in EE, the second master's degree. And so after 300 resumes, finally I have a hit, which is the first company is called Amdahl. Gene Amdahl was doing a copycat of a mainframe computer. Today the company no longer exists, and it's acquired by a supercomputer company, a Japanese supercomputer company called Fujitsu. Long back, and then, of course, the supercomputer was very expensive, was disrupted by workstation, the cheap workstation, and the PC. So, and the down cycle also carried casualties. The company Amdahl lay off the whole division, 170 people. Today, everybody go home, okay? And you can sign a severance package. That means if you don't sue the company, you can get 6 weeks of pay. So luckily, I found quickly, within 3 weeks, found a job at Sun Microsystems. So I was lucky that, in 3 weeks, I have double pay. So that's the 1993 time. So personally, I feel very, lucky, fortunate to joining Sun Microsystems. Many of you know this name on the list. The co-founder is Vinod Khosla, one of them. Today, he was, later on, he was a general partner at Klein Perkins, and then later on, ventured out to do his own venture called Khosla Ventures. If you look it up, a lot of investment. Scott McNealy, also very famous, so he was the person fighting with Bill Gates. It's a religious war during the 90s. If you are here, during that time, you see the billboards, the Microsoft was the evil, okay. It's a very fun time. Kind of interesting, okay. And then we have Bill Joy, who was a Java inventor, and last but not least, I want to mention Andy Bechtolsheim. Anybody know this name? Anybody in the audience? Okay, I see a few hands. He had just to be the genius of the genius. Okay, but he's a very low profile. You know, you look him up at Wikipedia, you look at his companies, more than that. So, story short, so he was also one of the co-founder of Sun Microsystems. And later on, he started, Grindnight, and then quite a few companies acquired by Cisco. Of course, the most famous story was 100K, with another Stanford professor invested in Google, turned into $2 billion or more. Today, I think why is such a genius? He's very low profile, not like a lot of other names always in the press. So the company called Arista, you look it up in NASDAQ. So he has this repetitive success. It's just amazing, but he just not a lot of story about him. Andy Bechtolsheim, Sun Microsystems, is just genius. So, and many, I want to add another sentence. A lot of other famous investors kind of faded away after their prime time, but Andy was the person, somehow he just keep going with always hit, okay, from the outside. He may have a lot of failures also on investment, but it's just amazing. Yeah. Let me segue to another special project called OpenVera or Vera project. That was my first experience with entrepreneur. So I was an engineer at the Sun Microsystems. We did an ASIC design, and we invented a language called Vera, and today it's a part of open system Vera. If anybody in the audience study EE, design chips, semiconductors, you will know the company, and you may know the language that you use to design circuits, ASICs. It's called system Vera. Learned a lot of lesson. Long story also short, the company was acquired by Synopsys in 1998. We realized, wow, this is the way how Silicon Valley works. At that time, we were part of the two people behind the project, wrote the code. But when it was acquired, we did not have coach or mentors to tell us, here's how to protect your IP. Here's how to negotiate the ownership, all that stuff. So it's very, very kind of personal experience. And later on, I joined a former coworker at the Sun Microsystems to Cisco Systems. And then Cisco Systems at that time stock was doubling every 6 months, was the king, like Google or Microsoft that day, and it could be the first $1 trillion company. But one way or another, I joined another Sun Microsystems team member, jumped to Juniper Networks, was the at the very beginning as one of the founding engineering member. The founder, one of the main founder is Pradeep Sindhu. At that time, he was 44. So he worked at the Xerox PARC and combined the best hardware design, ASIC, and the software from Cisco to create this new company, Juniper. Look it up. Later on, I'll talk a little more. So the last 9 years, it's more about TSVC's the investment. I'll talk a little bit more later on. So now we talk a little bit about the bubble, okay? The 1999 and 2000. So, a lot of people, it's called a dot-com bubble. Sun Microsystems was the dot-com, the dot of the dot-com, if you read a lot of internet books. So this chart shows just the snap, just one of the company, right? There are so many companies completely got wiped out. Juniper was doing the hardware. It should be very solid business. But look how the stock behaved. Went up. So I joined Juniper in 96. They went public in 99. In 3 years, it went public. Today, it doesn't happen in today's environment. And then you see the crash after 2001. So that kind of shows the the dot-com crash in terms of one particular company. And today, unfortunately, even Cisco is just like 60% of the peak value, and Juniper is worse. It's only 10% of the valuation of $70 billion. All right, so let's move a little bit further, and then we have the new king. Many of you are now all very familiar, Google and Facebook. And then we have the Alibaba and the Tencent, a new king from China, giants. It's kind of coming into the picture. And today, I think, very interesting. There are a lot of talk about, it's always, so Microsoft was, maybe 10 years ago, roughly, people think they were just like Oracle. Right? Oracle may not be the most exciting. Anybody from Oracle may not be the most exciting, or Cisco may not be the most exciting company you want to go to, right? But during my time, Sun Microsystem, Oracle, all these are very brand names. So it's very, very rare for a very old company of 44 years old to be the most valuable company today, globally, right? So the most highly valued company. So it's the coming back story, very, very strong. And then, the story is not finished, but we have the new players like Uber and Lyft. We still need yet to see. Uber is representing the new king after Facebook and Google, but right now we have to see. That's the most interesting thing is we don't know the future. Right, so let me kind of just, so we did a little bit of review of the last, 29 years or so. So I want to change the subject into investment. So when we started at 2010, right? In that time frame, 2010, started Angel. It's really Angel helping the very early entrepreneur, just the idea to get started because I myself, just have a strong interest. And then, maybe bring other experienced people can help the young people. That's the original idea. And at that time, a lot of, business in terms of model, because we coming all, from China. So you see the business model is more like copied to China. The classic example is Groupon. Groupon, the China's last show, and today's Meituan. Last show, maybe it's, many of you may not know the name. But that was one time was the biggest Groupon company in China. So the time gap is about 18 months. So you have something working in US, and after maybe 2 years or 18 months, you create a similar business, try to copy and try to localize. That was the main theme. At that time, a lot of VC coming to China to copy US. At that time, the China 2005, for example, was really the beginning time, roughly, of the VC birth of China. But fast forward to today, maybe this is not the best story. Maybe people in the audience know a lot more than I do. A lot of company in consumer space, the US company are all looking to learn from China. So in consumer space, things change a lot. In the last WASI demo day, there were 2 Indian companies copy literally the China internet companies to do this, yeah. So it's quite interesting. So this investment journey, it's really, I think, it's very much tied to the personal, looking back, it's much easier today. Okay, so let me start first. 一起作业 was I invested a friend. Today, the founder of 一起作业 long gone, left company long time ago. But I was eventually into this investment. Today, it's a kind of unicorn in the education space in China called 一起作业. And then also, luckily, I invested in a schoolmate, Giga Device, was doing semiconductor. Memory is a commodity. margin is very, very thin. So at that time, if all the investors, professional investors know with deep knowledge about semiconductor, they all say the team, we lost the picture, okay. So the CEO was the engineer, no experience, and then technology is not better than anything. So, so after he went back to China, after 13 years, created this success, and today the valuation, roughly it's about $7 billion USD, traded in China, Eigu. It's kind of interesting, but at the beginning, it's very difficult. Quite a few early rounds, you have to save the company, like many companies. So another quick timeline in terms of our investment. Although we have hits, I want to mention that although we have quite a few unicorns, lucky, but this is out of 150 companies we have invested. Many of them died. Quite a few are still growing or surviving. But we do have a list of companies that break out. The intermediaries, Zoom, we invested more than 8 years ago. It was very, like many people are familiar with it, it's not obvious, right? Video conferencing, why you another one? So, and then Carta maybe going forward will be also very strong. If you start a company, very likely you will put your cap table onto Carta, very, very dominant player. It's help you to, it's kind of fintech, also SaaS company, growing very, very quick. Ginkgo Bio is in the synthetic bio space, and Conergy is the hardcore solid-state LiDAR. Plus AI is autonomous driving for trucks. So we don't know the future. I don't pretend to know. But here's our fund right now managing about still small fund, total $100 million US dollars. We will stay with our roots to help early entrepreneurs. Like as young as you are, we actually invested quite a few young team. For example, one was at that time when the 3 co-founders were only 18 years old, and just 1 month ago we invested in another team, another young team. They are about 20. Yeah. So that's what we do. We will stay in our roots to help entrepreneur at the very beginning, to work with them always. Okay. So this is exactly what I want to say. It's investment. We are to work with the founders instead. Maybe a little bit of coaching on some life experiences, but most important, it's a learning experience for all of my team members and myself also. And sometimes certain things have to be unlearned. For example, one particular business model, may not be successful. Just like say a web van, right? And then today's DoorDash, we don't know exactly what's the outcome, but if you learn web van will not work in 2000, but maybe things are different today. So you have to, if you learn the lesson, say that business will never work, then it's a wrong lesson you learn. So you need to unlearn a lot of that kind of thing at my age, yeah. So actually that is the slide and then talk I want to give. So thank you for your time. So I have team members here. So yeah, happy to chat with anyone who are here. Thank you very much.